So now I'm live on Facebook, which, no, I don't want to be on that one. I want to be live on this one. Give me this camera. Okay. So no, I don't want to be live on that one. I want to be live on this one. Why won't you let me do that? Stay there. Stay on this camera. I think it's staying on this camera. It's happening. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over to Facebook Live. I want you to jump over. Why not do it in the VW? Such a great question. I actually thought about setting up my set in the VW bus, but Jess is living in it. So I got to, be a good friend. That's where she's at. It's like the total condo. So everybody, if you're on this Instagram Live video, I'm doing a test of Facebook Live and some studio quality of audio, quality of picture, and I'm trying to come up with a reasonable solution that wouldn't break the bank for any viewers or people trying to do the same thing. So I'm doing a little bit of, a little bit of testing for my fellow pastors who are out there trying to come up with the right solution to bring something reasonable to the table. Because if you're like me, you're going to be, I don't know, they're saying weeks of not getting back together, even though Trump's trying to bring everybody back together before Easter. But that's another story. That's another podcast. So, Ted, you just ordered the Blackmagic 4K. So here I am on, if you're over at Facebook, Stephen Chaparro, I'm going to actually babysit some of these comments on Facebook. I'm going to encourage you, go over to Facebook and find me on the live. Stephen, good to see you. I am both typing and talking on this feed. So on Facebook Live, I've got my aunt. Good to see you. I'm guessing she's in Bakersfield right now. I've got Cody, Ron. The pic looks better on Insta. So really, well, wait a minute. So it's dark right now on Instagram. Yes, Ron, I appreciate that. Let me see if I can share. Was I doing that right here? HDMI out. Oh, let's see. If I share this to here, this should brighten up my, there we go, brighten up my feed. Okay, so don't set yourself on fire like that priest did. Did a priest set himself on fire? Now, hopefully that wasn't like a, what's it called? Hopefully that wasn't like a demonstration. Okay, sup, guy? Okay, I'm going to move my mic away because it's pretty hot. Microphone's hot, but the audio quality should be way better in Facebook than it should be in Instagram. And here's the deal. Chris Francis hooked you up with the Blackmagic. That's good information, Ted. Ted, I'm not looking at the screen anymore because I'm going to look at Facebook Live. So if you want to talk to me, go over to Facebook Live, and I'm going to see if I can split this screen with you, because it's one of the things that we want to do in church going forward, trying to make it more personable. I'm in my garage. I have a super cold draft coming up under from a vent that's right under this desk right here. So for sure, I have to do some of that work right now. But my audio is solid. Good, Ron. Thank you. Tell me if the picture got better. Thanks, Cody. It looks great. I appreciate that feedback. I think it looks better here. Great depth of field. Might need a little focus on you. Okay, that's good. I can do that. So here's what I've been really frustrated with my Sony is I haven't had enough time with my Sony a7 III to really like own the quality and like the image really great. So right now I have it set to like straight up manual focus. It's not servoing. It's not trying to find me or lock up on my face because there's too many unknown variables. So I just kind of set it with my hand and then I forget it. And the truth is, whether it's quality of stream or it's me being out of focus, I need to figure this out. So maybe somebody, if you're like a super pro Sony a7 person, you can help me with social distancing, but help me set the settings on my camera. Love you, James. I'll catch you later. Is it cold? I need a jacket. Yeah, you're right, Dad. Thank you very much. So yes, the audio is way better. The alpha looks solid. You're right, guy. It looks bomb. And I'm using Facebook Live through the Blackmagic board. In the Blackmagic board, I don't have an MSRP like MSRP, your good friend Ariel Ortiz just let you borrow it. So it's called Blackmagic Design. Sweet little box. I'm going to show it to you right here. The Jacob's telling me that the auto on that rules, man, the smart face. That's great. So here's the, if you're on Instagram Live, I cannot move my Facebook Live camera, but this is the switcher. Don't mind the rat's nest worth of cables because I'm still trying to make sure everything works before I do all this cable management. I had this sweet little monitor here that was helping me with focus, control. I've got, Instagram's going to show you a ton more. So look at it. I've got some backlighting. That's my water heater right there. This is a map hiding. This is usually my office. It's hiding a bunch of crap. Look at this. I'm showing you all my, but this is just like, what is all that stuff? Hide it with a map. Wires running overhead. Boom. I've got 2 lights that I literally like wood clamped to the beams up there because I'm not sure that I'm going to keep them up there forever, but it's great backlight. That's my rooftop tent. And this is my Volkswagen bus. That's part storage. So let me put this back on the rack right here as I continue to test this. Less and less viewers on Instagram as I'm making my way over. Yes, it is cold in the garage, and I will get a jacket in a little bit. ATEM. Jacob, you need to give me some love here. So looks hood. Looks hood. Looks like I'm in City Heights hood, or looks good typo. You need to let me know what you actually meant, Ted. Yes, the depth of field. I probably could come up with something better, like take this blanket out of the windshield of my Volkswagen bus, and then you'd be like, oh, that looks cool. There's a Volkswagen bus back there. But if you're saying it looks hood like it looks ghetto, oh, it looks killer. Thank you, Ted. Thanks for clarifying. Des, replying to Steve, Sony A7 III. Let me see what's inside of this conversation. What type of camera I'm using. So I'm using an A7 III. A7III. For anybody who's like, what do you mean? It's an A7 III, and I'm using a fixed 50mm lens. I'm not using like the really expensive one. I'm using like the $220 fixed 50 lens. I think the depth at 1.8 f-stop is the most bang for your buck. How much for the bus? Oh man, Ryan, I tried to not sell the bus, and I probably won't. I always tell Bravery, you don't have to buy me a coffin when I die because you can just bury me in my Volkswagen bus. So let me get through this Facebook thread and feed, and then I'm going to see if I can bump in a screen share opportunity with somebody. So hang tight. Ted, if you're on the line, I think I'm going to bring you through because you've got some content out there and you just recently launched a podcast and you're using Blackmagic also. Is this image the Sony? Yes, this is the Sony image right now, going through a DSLR, connected to the Blackmagic, then running from the Blackmagic USB-C, some people call it USB 3, running to my laptop. Dude, Matt Swift Perry, this looks so good. I told you, bro, I'm trying to come up proper in my garage, so I won't be selling the bus, but my dad, Ryan, has one for you. Managing a live stream commentary is awesome. Okay, so let's see if we can get a split screen here. Ted, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to find yourself in a decent spot. Give me a thumbs up in this comment thread when you're ready. 8 minutes into this. If you're watching right now, I am testing out what should be a potential live stream opportunity out of my garage, which I converted into a studio, a studio. It's just a place where quietly I can find some time to go live and talk. What kind of glasses do you wear? And is that a Walmart sweater? My glasses are Dolce & Gabbana glasses. They're super dirty. I bought them with insurance, so out of pocket they were like $100. I got them when I was in Orange County. Don't judge me. This is not a Walmart sweater. This is a Saddleback men's ministry sweater. But Andrew Schlegel, you being the fashionista that everybody knows you to be, I appreciate those questions. Okay, Ted's giving me the thumbs up. So we're going to go for a split screen share here. Screen share. I'm clicking on it as a part of my setup. I don't know if I'm going to lose the feed, but if I do, stay tuned because I'm going to come right back. Here we go. Screen share, screen 1, screen 2, your entire screen, application window. Share your screen. Oh, does this mean like I'm sharing it with Facebook.com wants to share the contents of your screen. Choose what you'd like to share. Oh, this is like share it on the feed? I don't know. Here we go. Let's see. Did I just share my screen with everybody? Can you see my screen? I don't know if you can screen my entire screen. Application window. Nope, these are all my applications. Chrome tab. Failure to launch right here. Okay, did I share anything? Yeah, yo, fancy. Sam, you're the one that inspired me. And honestly, while I was setting up all this stuff, I was like, I wish I had access to the Airstream because I could be utilizing so many random cables and chargers and USB things that I know are in the Airstream to do this. But, you know, you use what you got. I only see you. I want to see Ted. I know everybody wants to see Ted, so it's not like Instagram. Well, thank you, Ted. Working on, let's see, working on seeing if this sucker can share. Bing. Okay, so if I can't screen share here, well, what the heck is this screen share option right here? Okay, I'm going back to Instagram Live. Pastor Courtney, good to see you. Daniel Santos, good to see you. Bink from Insta, no, I can only see you. I want to see Ted. Oh, let's do this. I'll bring Ted on over here. Ted, I'm going to bring you on with Instagram. You're not even on Instagram. Good to see you, Pastor Courtney. Trying to do my work here. So it looks to me like there is no screen sharing on Facebook Live, but I can put polls out there. Question: can I screen share with? Can I screen? I'm doing both. I'm on Facebook Live with a Sony, and it looks amazing. I'm on Instagram just on my phone, but I'm babysitting conversations on both sides. Can I screen share with Facebook Live? I'm going to run a poll out there, and then maybe you guys can jump on and give me an answer. Yes, no, but maybe. Add an option. Who cares? Okay, boom. Poll going out. I put a poll out there, I think. Published. Let's see. Publish this poll. Publish this poll. Boom, it's out there. Show the results in the video. This is cool stuff. Super geeky stuff. Okay, I got results out right now. I put a poll, and I want to know if I can screen share with Facebook Live. Back to the comment thread inside. Did I hear? Okay, headphones. Are they the noise canceling ones? Yes, Ben, they are the noise canceling headphones. But they're an old edition. Ted, you're over here. Okay, here I come, Ted. Bringing you in. Everybody, we're waiting for Ted Vaugn here. I'm going to bring this volume up. Ted declined. Ted, don't decline, bro. Hold on. How did you become so cool? Thank you, Shelby. I appreciate that question. I look actually way cooler on Facebook. Go find me over there. Question: will Ted be drinking wine or whiskey when he gets on? I'm pretty sure Ted will be drinking wine if his Instagram stories are accurate. Let me go back and try to pull Ted in right now on Instagram. Ted, I'm pulling you in on Instagram, and this could totally turn into a train wreck. Did I hear you're trying to split the screen with somebody else? Just learned that they removed that feature, and it was only on the phone. I tried to do this a couple of days ago, and you can only do it with third-party software like BeLive TV. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with everybody. I cannot keep up with all of the different everything else, or Blackmagic Cinema 4K. I can't keep up with all the different options or different, like, all the different software out there. It's so hard to keep on top of it. Hey, guy, maybe you can go live with me also. Let me see. Ryan, Ted Vaugn. Ted, I want you to go live with me. How do I get you to go live with me on Instagram. Here we go. I'm waiting for Ted Vaugn on Instagram now. Hey, are you there?
What's up?
Yes, so good. Welcome to the live stream. This is so unscripted and gross and not. This is the bloody front end of trying to figure out church in quarantine.
I love it. You're keeping it so raw and real and honest.
So obviously you're in some way, shape, or form. You're on Instagram, and you're also. I'm guessing. Are you in front? If you're in your office, or do you have it on your computer where you can see Facebook Live?
No, I'm on my phone. I'm in the bedroom. I
Oh,
don't have any other device
hey
close
girl.
to me. So
What's up, girl? This is like church for reals right now. So, okay, so I still have Facebook Live, but Ted, while I've got you on and I've got Facebook Live going, if I could put another microphone over here, I would. But I'm gonna re-summarize what you're saying while I stay on Facebook Live. How valuable is it right now for everybody to figure it out?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's funny, but before COVID-19, there were actually churches asking the question, should we even worry about digital or go online? And nobody's asking that question anymore.
Right. It is not a question to be asked. It is a solution to figure out.
Yeah. So I do think the challenge I'm finding with a lot of the churches I work with is they're all chasing content. And I get it. You have to pump out content, weekend worship, kids, small group. But man, if you can't figure out how to keep community alive and engaged in this season, I think you're playing the wrong game. Content serves community. It does not serve your content.
Woo! Okay.
So
wait a minute. You gotta slow down. You gotta slow down. Because I want to make sure if people are hearing this on Facebook, now you're just talking like straight fire. So now I have to put it on. I gotta move this over to get to your face so that people can hear in both ways. You just said, and sorry if I'm super close in proximity, you just said content won't serve community, but community can serve your content?
No.
Wait, say that again.
No, you got it backwards. I think most of the churches I'm talking with are in a scramble to pump out great content. And there's nothing wrong with that. Content's important. But it's not more important than community. During this weird physical distance season, not social distance, because we're socially connected right now. It's physical distance. You have to elevate engagement with your community, and content serves that purpose. Community should not serve content. Content should serve your ability to connect with community. So everything you record and do should have a call to action, to a webinar, to a Facebook Live that you're going to do midweek where you're going to do Q&A about how you're surviving COVID. There are all sorts of ways to engage community, but unfortunately for a lot of churches, leveraging these social channels, it's just a new ballgame. And they're all, I can't tell you how many pastors I've talked to in the last 24 hours that don't even have a Twitter or a Facebook account.
Right, and you're really advocating right now for pastors and churches to really level up on Twitter. And I think that you've been hosting that conversation on LinkedIn, which is sketchy about LinkedIn. Boomer Enterprises over here, but but Twitter is the up to the minute space where people can really dive in and go person to person, peer to peer, right?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, I think senior pastors need to be on Twitter because it's an easy place for them to throw thoughts out, throw quotes out, not worry about the perception of the larger church. It should be for them. Your church should point to your pastor's Twitter account. Most churches I work with, their Twitter was updated at best 6 months ago, right? So either kill it or make it be your pastor's account. I think LinkedIn is just great as an entrepreneur and as a businessman and as a, I think there are a lot of pastors on there, but LinkedIn is a killer channel. The organic search is... Oh,
man, it's so juicy out there. I'm telling you.
It's a great place to be.
It's like investing in California in 1848. So back to the... well, here's what I love. I love this impromptu conversation. And let me let me give you some context to what I love what you said, but we have said back in our camp, right? I'm in a network church. There's 9 of us. We're the second largest of the 9. And we all agree, without a shadow of a doubt, that the role of the church is to care for people. It's not to make content. And great content is something that is like a cherry. It's something that is good. It's something that you don't want bad content as a church or as a pastor, as a communicator. But our primary role is caring for people, and that is our unique, and that's our ultimate opportunity right now. And if we miss and refocus on just coming out with killer content, we'll miss what we were made for, which is loving people well. We've all come to that conclusion. I hope others have too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've talked to a couple of churches this week that don't have great digital engagement. They're pretty behind the times when it comes to understanding things like Facebook Live. But you know what they do know? The telephone. And they have called every single member of their church because they care about their people and care about community and want to figure out how to stay connected through the telephone. So to your point, the game has got community. Don't let the black hole of time creating great content rob you from the time to actually engage, whether it's phone, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Zoom. Redeemer in Encinitas is having incredible positive impact with small group leaders through Zoom. They're just purchasing Zoom accounts for all their small groups. And it's working. I've talked to 2 of their small leaders who are like, we're going to keep doing this post-COVID. This is awesome for us, right? We can meet weekly way easier than ever before. So, they'll probably meet monthly for a big dinner gathering. But I think one of the things churches should be asking right now is what's going to be new for us in phase 2 and phase 3? Because I don't think this phase 1 stuff that we're doing now is going to unwind. I don't think the church is going to go back to normal in 3, 4, 5 weeks. That we're doing now will forever change what ministry looks like. So I think smart churches, smart church leaders are thinking now about what that is and are preparing for what things look like in the fall of 2020.
Thus, me trying to figure this out in my garage at 11 p.m. So here's what's interesting is I'll let you know from the war room in our own church, we wrote on my whiteboard in my office, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and I just named phase 3 like, Dear God, no. And like in a matter of 3 days, we went from like phase 1, we'll just kind of shift some things to straight into Dear God, no. That's like we went to. So I just X'd out all of phase 1 and phase 2, and I was like, okay, now we have to reimagine everything with Dear God, no being the starting point and not knowing what's coming next. And I love that you said what's up, Ricky Page, and a few others on Instagram.
What's up, Ricky Page?
Hey, Ricky, I'm testing something out on Facebook. Go find us on Facebook. And Story of Yellow. What's up, Sam Song? Adding to the conversation. So here is what happened with us. We have this great chasm of generations at our church. Not like a missing middle. We have this great span. It goes young families all the way to people in their 90s. We had a lady in our church that's 100 years old. Her name's Viberta. I love her. And what I love is that our church didn't just go out and spend like $10,000 on streaming gear because we don't want to miss the next generation. Man, has that conversation changed in the last 3 weeks. But we went straight to the telephone and we said, let's call everybody over the age of 55. I pulled the roster of all the people who had been to our church that we had information on. Let's get at least a voice memo out to them if we've got their cell phone number saying, hey, it's blah, blah, blah from Torrey Pines Church. Just want to make sure you're in everything that you've got. You have a communication channel open back to us. It's funny how old tech became some of the most valuable tech over.
Yeah, and I think that's fantastic, because I think, Mingo, you're somebody who always champions community. You're about people, and as much as you care about content, technology, and geeking out on it at 11 p.m. Pacific time, I don't think you ever let it get in the way of your heart for people. I think that's why you've been so successful and made such an impact. And I think there are churches who are hungry to do that very thing. They just need help to figure out how to do it. I mean, I've talked to 2 churches this week who didn't even realize Facebook Live could be a way for them to host new to our church, right? Post-Easter, when you still can't gather, you should be doing Facebook Live or Zoom, welcome to our church, right? Church
Yes.
101. There's all sorts of ways to be engaging people and doing church. It just feels different. And, but you know, in many ways, I think the way God will redeem COVID-19 is by helping so many churches embrace the technology that he's created decades ago, and we're slow to adopt. But you know, the gospel does not, the gospel does not wait. It will take and utilize any media. And I think that's going to be one of the best parts of this kind of mustard seed disruption moment of COVID, is God's going to grow something totally new, and it's going to do amazing stuff for the kingdom. We just have to figure out how to navigate this kind of turbulent time. You know, Mingo, when I talk about phase 1, phase 2, for me, phase 2 is when churches can gather, but 25% or so of your church will choose not to. I think one of the things that will potentially blindside a lot of churches is when they have all these digital things in place, the church can start to gather again, and now they have to facilitate both live interactions and keep these digital things alive. But I think phase 2 will be a 4 to 6 month phase where gathering is possible, but many people choose not to. They're not ready to gather physically again.
Well, and let me come back to just the real life application. I love this conversation between you and I, because you've got the 10,000 foot view, and I've got the 10 foot I'm like the micro lens of it right now. The funniest part of this conversation was just 2 weeks ago. I was like, you know what we should do is think about, and this is, I'm not claiming pre-whatever, but there was a lot of controversy about whether or not you could provide membership opportunities, get to know our church, welcome newcomers opportunities through an online portal. Everyone was like, no, why would you do that? And now it's not the only option. So I do love I love the bulldozing that this global event has afforded for people who are willing to experiment. This is your moment. For people who have a hard time with change, this is obviously incredibly challenging. And I'm not saying, it's too bad, so sad for one half of the coin, but I am in agreement that there are lots of things that you have to consider. Ted, you've been talking about, I think one of your greatest keynotes that you've used as I've been with you has been this idea of new tech and old tech, the industry of oil, big oil being one of the biggest investors in renewable energies, right? Solar and battery and wind. This is the moment for a very old church to really assess where their greatest investment is and where it is going, right? Like you said, so many churches just now decided, well, if it's going to be weeks and we don't want to foreclose, we better figure out a video option and figure out how to get relationships working across this digital paradigm.
Yeah, I would say my hope would be that there are large churches, and by large, I mean 500 or larger, that begin to innovate and take greater risks, because this season helped them realize if we take risks and fail, we're okay. If we can survive this, if we can figure this season out, stuff that we could be doing for the kingdom, the young leaders we should be investing in, the playgrounds or the sandboxes we should be creating for the purpose of ministry. It breaks my heart when I hear a young leader talk about how unbelievably displaced, marginalized, and underdeveloped they were at their church. I mean, granted, young leaders are never easy. They often have an edge. They're not diplomatic, but they are the future church. And if those who are 50 plus don't figure out how to invest and pour into and coach and develop those young leaders who probably get Facebook Live, it's at the cost of the church's own future. My hunch is this season is helping awake innovative, risk-taking, entrepreneurial spirit in a lot of our churches. That would be my hope.
Okay, I love what you said. I'm going to read a couple of comments that I've got on the Facebook side, because I've got two audiences across two different platforms. One, Shelby, who is a part of our dinner service community. She helped pioneer dinner service, another one of those edge, bleeding, breaking ministry models. She was saying, and she's in her early 20s, mid 20s. She's saying, I've seen more Bible studies amongst my peers. I've seen more people sharing their spiritual transparency than I have ever before. So I do love the fact that there is there's an opportunity for people now to own their own spirituality. I was saying to our own group of growth group leaders at our own church in a video that I was creating with and for them, that I don't want to be a pastor that you just play my face on your screen. That's not the discipleship model I want our church to be marked by. I want you to be inspired by me, but I want you to be leading through the Spirit's movement to the people that God put in your own Zoom call meeting, or that the Lord put into your own living room conversation. I want to be the gasoline poured onto your fire. I don't want to be this, I don't want to be amplified or multiplied. I want to be fueling what bravery people are taking upon themselves in this unique moment in history.
For me, that's a two-edged sword. I think it's amazing how technology unleashes people and can set them up to own thing their own way. I also think it's why it's so important for the church to be present and engaged and provide content through these channels, leveraging them so that we can still lead. I don't think technology means it's so decentralized the church no longer needs to lead. That's a race to the bottom. At some point, theology and content and leadership matter. We just need to be a heck of a lot more relevant if we want to see what we're about expand beyond antiquated models.
Yeah. Two people that commented backwards, and we're basically sharing a microphone digitally right now. Everybody on Facebook can hear you. I had two things. One, Charles, who's at Eastside up in Anaheim, you know Eastside really well, Gene Apple's church.
Yeah.
He said, we've been missing courage in the next generation. He's the young adult pastor there. He also has tons of influence at the church at large. And he said, this is the moment for courage and faith its way to the surface, which I love. Sam Song told me, Sam Song, purpose driven. He's got tentacles out in hundreds of ministries. He said there are some pastors in this moment that are fully reorging their entire organization fearlessly. Have you seen that same thing in your guys' world, or is that an early, brave motion from a wise pastor?
That is an early, brave motion from a wise pastor or from a risk-taking pastor.
I would say risk-taking for sure.
Yeah, what the heck? Let's just throw it all up there. What I have seen is people reorging their staff in a temporary way. Low battery deal. Am I still there? Maybe
Yeah.
You still have me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got you. You better go. You better find a charger, bro. You better go charge up.
I know, bro. I'm going right now. One of the things I've realized is for a lot of churches, digital is a department or a person. And I think what this reality is challenging is that digital is actually a setting that can't be limited to a person, just like your facility is contained by someone. Your facility is something everybody operates in and shares space in, and now it's together. Digital should be the same thing. There shouldn't be one person who's the digital person who handles digital for those few people that are into digital. Digital should be the place where you do ministry, just like your campuses. Frankly, I would argue more so. I think it's going to be 60-40 by the time we're done with this.
In which direction?
But I could be wrong. Towards digital. it's now. I think it's demonstrating the power and the prolific scope of influence and the ease of digital, the ability for groups to be more connected more frequently and not have to drive through Chicago traffic. There's all sorts of benefits to digital that we all know. The church has just been a late adopter to the game. So I think the innovative churches I work with, I'll use Redeemer in San Diego as an example, and multiple others. They're doing temporary reorgs around that reality so that they all together can navigate digital ministry and digital communication. They're also elevating the role of their comm director because they realize what we say on the web, what we say through social, what we say through email has never mattered more. And we have to have somebody running air traffic control over that, or it's going to be a freaking wildfire of content spitting out everywhere.
Yeah, not to make light of the situation, but comm directors has got some major job security. Like in the last 14 days, I should have bought stock in comm directors. And the church is going to have to rethink itself for the next 3 to 6 months as people are going to have to assess their income. They're going to have to assess, where they're putting their extra charitable dollars. Being a pastor that, our church lives and breathes off of people's generosities. That concept has shifted where it's no longer about providing a place where you can be entertained, but really saying, let's look at how we can help leverage the best of humanity. That's what we're trying to go after right now. I had another question for you, and this was going to be about metrics, okay? Because everybody who counted, I watched T.D. Jakes said it on a call, and he said, people used to fight over whether you were a big church or a small church, and now everybody's got a small church because everybody had to reset back to zero, right? With metrics being still something that is incredibly valuable for churches, what are you seeing be the navigatable norm? Man, that sounded really good. What is the navigatable norm when people are trying to figure out who they're pulling together, how they're keeping retention? One of the things that I'm sensing and that I keep pressing to the surface is actually over views. Because views are like this weird thing of, I click in, I click out, I'm just window shopping. But shares tell me that somebody's willing to share their digital real estate with us, our message, and our mission. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. My buddy Jim Moriarty, who you've met when he was CEO of Surfrider, right? He was really early to that game of trying to figure out how to gauge Surfrider's social progress based on buzz, based on likes, based on sharing, and I think churches are really in that game, but I think there's got to be more to measurement of engagement in the digital space than just ISP addresses for a live stream or likes on a Facebook post. But I think that's why the comm director and the digital ninjas and analytics have never been more important to look at, because I think it tells a story. The beauty of digital is that it's infinitely measurable. And if you take the time to look monthly at new metrics, new navigatable, what was that, whatever that term was you said?
I don't know. I got to go back and listen to the replay.
I think that, it's amazing how many churches I've talked with don't even have analytics hooked up right, who aren't looking at their social analytics, who aren't looking at what Google has to tell them. But man, if you look, it tells you an incredible story about who's actually engaging, where they're engaging, where they're bouncing, why they're bouncing. So I don't know if this is answering your question, but I think moving forward, churches who take digital more seriously have got to take the analytics and what story is the analytics tell them. And that just takes people who are gifted and trained in that space.
Yeah, I certainly think that it's kind of up in the air right now. Even, across our network, we're trying to figure out what is the right rhythm to measure engagement. I really like anchoring down on shares. I think it tells us something about our listeners. There's, the comments thread is just banana, but you can manufacture that just by going, heart, emoji, 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 emoji. You can triple your comment thread just by, the basic connectedness. The display of discipleship, I think, is going to be one of those things that we see have to have kind of a new metric or a new norm as we see this be our regular rhythm for the next unforeseeable, few weeks, months. I'm really concerned. I'll tell you what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about a lift on gathering where a bunch of like core church members and believers, your fans, your greatest allies in ministry, they're going to love coming back and coming together. I think that there's going to be a lot of stigma in the general population to go back to big gatherings, and especially churches that don't display an attentiveness to really resetting their space, right? I'm already thinking in my mind, how do we do a major tune-up on our kids ministry space? How do we do a major tune-up on our youth space? How do we do tune-ups in our general spaces so that when people come, they go, you paid attention to the environment, you cleaned it, you upgraded it, we feel safe, and we feel like we're ready to re-engage here. And for both you, Ted, and the stream, if you got thoughts on that, I'd love to hear it.
One of the challenges a lot of churches have been wrestling with long before COVID is why does gathering, right? The general attendance patterns have been in decline. People have been showing up 1.5 times, 2 times a month is normal. And I think what we're going to really have to answer now is why coming back and gathering together matters. Because people now not only have not had to gather, they've actually found a viable alternative because the church has been forced to provide it. Burden proof post-COVID or in phase 2 and 3 will be on why physical proximity and being together actually matters. I think there is an answer for that. I think there is a theology around that. I think Eugene Peterson has some of the best work around that, but rarely do I find a church who actually tackles that question. Why gathering together matters, the value of hearing God in context of others, the value of being a part of something bigger than yourself, right? Eugene Peterson talks about the value of a Sabbath, of doing something as a ritual that reminds you that you're a part of something bigger than yourself. So I think we're going to have to really change how we address the role and function of church post-COVID. And I think that's overdue. I think that's been needed for, frankly, 5 years in the evangelical church, because I think we've been playing a game that just assumes people value and understand the reason or need for us. And I think that's shifting dramatically.
I love it. There's so much to think about, and people who have strategy in their top 5 strengths, I know that they're already thinking about what it is that we should be preparing for in the comeback phase, whatever that phase or time looks like. Right now, I'm trying to wrap my brains around creating an authentic and also not distracting visual engagement with people where I'm at home, which is why this stream even began. I do think there's something very raw about, you can tell that you're on your phone, you can tell you're in your home, but I do believe I'm back between these 2 images on my Facebook Live just so people can see the differences in them. But I do think that because of culture and because of media, we have been trained to see a certain quality. And you know it, and I know it. When you see a really subpar quality stream, your brains tune out. Even if you love that person, you have to pay a little bit of stock into the quality of the image and the quality of the audio you're putting out there for your people, just because they've already been served filet mignon when it comes to what they're seeing on Netflix and what they're seeing on Hulu and all the other perceived channels.
It's just the ticket to the dance. I mean, you have to play at a level that is equal to the rest of the world, or they won't take you seriously. Which I think goes back to a point earlier you were making about social. A few of the churches I've talked with have been encouraging their staff to refocus 20 to 30% of their time a week on social channels, and I love that. That's where your community is, right? I mean, if Facebook were a country, it'd be the largest country on earth. Engage with your people where they are, and they're turning up the heat on accountability, on priority, and sharing. They're taking social way more seriously, and they're seeing huge dividends. I mean, if you're not seeing 20 to 30% more engagement with your content via live stream or YouTube or whatever channel you're using, you're probably doing something wrong.
Well, I'm going to be the first to just out myself on this conversation because it's been really hard, Ted. It's been so difficult as a church of our size, right? We've got a very pared down staff because of our budget. So, I've got people working 2 versions of a job, and to manage responsibly, I should say that, to manage well, the online engagement on a Sunday is one of the hardest things you can do. Everybody is occupying a physical role. I've definitely wanted, my desire has been for us to engage in an online, as it's happening presence, but it's just been such a challenging person to find to manage it well. We've got plenty of people who love to take selfies. I have a freaking endless list of people who want to be influencers, but that shepherding plus digital cohesiveness is one of the hardest things to find. That's just where I'm at right now.
I get it. I noticed one of the comments squeak in. What if we had people spend 20 to 30% of their meeting with people, basically emphasizing relationship? I would totally concur. I think at the end of the day, this goes back to the theme we started with, Mingo. It's got to be about community, not great content. Yeah. And I think one of the great ironies in this time has been the greatest barrier for so many church and church staff, church leaders, is this black hole of Sunday. The amount of energy and money and time it takes to get Sunday right, week after week after week. It never stops. 52 Sundays a year. Christmas and Easter are just extra work. In many ways, that has been somewhat alleviated. I mean, you still have the capture of content, the distribution. It's not like it's been completely erased, but I don't think it's the same time suck that it is when you're doing the live gathering week after week after week. Yeah. And I think it has afforded church leaders the time to actually reinvest in relationship, in engagement. The irony is we can't do it physically, so we're having to do it digitally. That's why I think refocusing 20 to 30% of your staff time on social channels, on engagement, on liking, and training them on how to do it well, on Facebook Live devotionals with your senior pastor on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, or on, I don't know, whatever it is. I think that kind of stuff will pay huge dividends, and it will potentially set up to do ministry differently post-COVID. But that's going to look different for every church. It's not going to look like the same thing.
Yeah, I've got a lot of people on both of these threads, and you can tell it's a sensitive topic, because there are people who are like, is it worth so quickly turning the corner to go towards online engagement, right? There's a huge swatch of people who, hired by the church, their job is to manage big rooms with big numbers of people. And this is obviously displacing them in the moment. One of the greatest things that we've tried to figure out within our own network is, how do we get everybody to pivot towards pastoral care? You don't have to be the best at it, but you can, human to human, make a human reach to somebody else. So I love an example of this is John Allen. So John Allen, you and I both know, one of the most brilliant creators, one of the guys who sets the pace when it comes to environment and how it makes people interact. Now, John is like handcuffed right now. I saw him today and he's like, man, my whole world is decimated because all I want to do is create spaces where people can better connect with each other and better connect with God. And one of the challenges that I gave him and Victoria last week was, you're the pastor of environment design. So why don't you pastor people through their environments right now? Go home and show us what it looks like in your home as you are navigating being in a spatial confinement. And that's exactly what he did. He went straight back. So while everybody expects John to like create magic with a hammer and a drill and an art palette, he went back and really shepherded some people with his wife, saying, hey, we're a small like condo with two under 3 years old, and this is where we find sanity. It was amazing to watch him pivot to love people well, although his job, people wouldn't, they wouldn't mark that on his ability to do, because he's always just been the guy that creates great environments.
John's an amazing guy. And I think he's a perfect example of what I see happening with a lot of leaders with church staffs. They're at home going, I have a lot of time and I don't quite know what I should be doing with it. And I think that's leading to innovation. Mm-hmm. It's leading to people having to rethink about new ways to connect with people, to care about people. And that's, I think, one of the most exciting things that will come out of this is hopefully a resurgence of community and care, because we've learned how to innovate and do it. We've realized how important it is because it was taken away. So, I probably in a Pollyannish, naive way, am incredibly excited and very opportunity focused about what phase 2 and phase 3 of this season will do. Now, I think there will be some churches who are completely leveled. And I think the kingdom of God is fine with that.
Yes, I love that perspective.
I don't think God's kingdom is threatened by a church closing its doors. If it were, it'd be lights out, because there's a ton of churches that close their doors regularly. I'm pretty sure none of the original churches.
Oh, sad day. I don't know what happened, but we got bumped off. We got super bumped. I wonder if I can go live again. I got bumped off of Instagram's live feed, and I wonder if it's because there was just too much fire. There's too much heat happening right there. I'm going back to live again, and I'm going chasing Ted down. If Ted's back there, I started a live video. We had a bunch of people listening and watching with us. This whole conversation started out because I was trying to figure out a great way to up the quality of image from Facebook Live, as so many churches are trying to navigate that right now, just as a way of, one, creating some great pathways for me, but also trying to help some others out. Here we go. Ted's coming back in. We got a conversation going here, folks. This is like the impromptu happening right now. The feeds. Ted, welcome back. I don't know if we hit the max limit on Facebook or on Instagram living, but I had so many people text me in one furious short moment to go back to live. I'll keep the story in our Instagram page as long as Instagram allows me to keep it in there. But the Facebook Live I'll keep up so that you guys can share back to your staff and share back to the people that you're doing church with. A great conversation, obviously. It sounds like we've got maybe potentially an audio drop. Will you just confirm with me, everybody, that the audio is back? Battery dead. It could be that I am losing some audio here. Ted, I am going to go back to you. What was your final thought in this? You were talking about your Pollyannic joy and the fact that you're not scared that churches are going to die, that you don't think God's worried either, that certain churches have done their due diligence, great ministry. There will be a closing season, and out of that, there will be a regeneration of several new ministries. And that's something I think all of us can look forward to with the right kind of perspective.
Yeah, listen, I think it is an incredibly sad reality that ministry has been so delayed and late to the digital game. I think that frustrates God, and I think he makes this opportunity by changing that and by awakening digital innovation in ministry in ways that we haven't seen it, because it will be the local church taking it more seriously, really big nonprofits. I think it's overdue, and I think it's going to be a game changer in the world of ministry post-COVID, and that's why I'm excited. I also think it will level a lot of churches who haven't known how to survive or thrive in this season, and that's painful because of the people, but the kingdom of God's going to be fine.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Ted, I cannot thank you enough. These are some of my favorite moments, man, where you just end up around a table having a conversation that just blows you wake up the next day going, man, there's a lot to chew on there. And I think that even this exchange of just going live together, the willingness to jump on and jump in and be ready, this is a part of this new economy, right? Where you can have a conversation maybe with some of your favorite leaders in an unbridled, unrestricted way, if people are willing to go there. I think this is going to do something really interesting for those Instagram famous, web famous, social, blah, 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 where you're going to get to see some true colors of whether or not they're actually engaging with the anybodies and the nobodies out there. This certainly has leveled that playing field, and I'm happy to be a part of a team that says, hey, if there's something that you can bring to the table, I'd love to have a conversation. I never want there to be a gap in who you are versus who I am. I know that there's, margin and there's demand and all that stuff, but this should be the great reset to allow anybody who believes that Jesus is still on the throne to have a conversation to point everyone in that direction.
Yeah, and I would only echo that in this new digital landscape, as churches innovate, as we see more and more people connecting, the role and importance of theology will only grow. We'll have a theological crisis on our hands if we see churches embracing all sorts of new technology for connection, but not leading through it, not providing great theology, not providing great teaching. Content and theology has never mattered more as we embrace these new mediums and allow for greater decentralization and greater connection. If we don't keep theology and keep teaching and keep content and structure out there, I think it could be a whole set of problems on our hands. But I'm far more hopeful than I am concerned as we take this whole digital thing more seriously.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was James Grogan forwarded me Carey Nieuwhof. Carey Nieuwhof's got such great, he's got leadership capital out the ears. And Carey Nieuwhof was saying in this season right now, I think a lot of churches led with, faith over fear. But that was such an inspiration-driven statement that inspiration is going to dry up here pretty quickly, right? As people start to really look at great deep detail at their 401ks, at their employment, at education. Inspiration is what we do when everything is going fine, but explanation, really looking through scripture and explaining how people came to the altar, how people fell at the feet of Jesus, explaining the hows and the whys and the whats behind those things, is that next phase for, I think, churches to really help humanity find Jesus.
100%. Bro, you're inspiring. It's an unbelievable pleasure to see you thrive and become this incredible leader that's been on all these journeys in all sorts of different vehicles, including your bus. Yeah, super fun to still be chatting with you, still be in this game together.
Love it. I love it, Ted. Thanks for sharing your time. I'm going to let you go so you can probably jump on a 5 a.m. call that you're probably going to need to be on for some East Coast church trying to figure it out tomorrow. I love you. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Bye, guy.
For all of our folks still on FaceTime or on Facebook, man, what a treat that was to get to sit and listen to Ted. Man, he is one of those, I want to call him like a ministry, he's a Renaissance man. He's in both the execution of ministry in so many places, but also the 10,000 foot level of seeing how the church is reacting, unpacking, responding to everything, to all the things that we're seeing. And as the pendulum swings, I think as we close down this 1 hour live stream, that's crazy. I've never streamed for an hour straight. as the pendulum swings right now, we are seeing an overabundance of inspiration. But as I think pastors get a clue into, reality, I think all of us get. We've got to put our big boy theology caps on. We've got to spend that extra time in Scripture. We have to be keen on what the Spirit is leading us to communicate to each of our own unique flocks. And that's a lot of Bible jargon, but listen, it's an easy exchange to just grab a series or a message from another pastor because it applies, but don't let that rob you of that Holy Spirit inspiration, that word that God would have for your people in this moment. This is where I think, technology can be our greatest friend and one of our greatest enemies when it comes to our own spiritual development as leaders. So, diligence, and, I love what Rick says. Rick Warren, and I've been so blessed to be able to do ministry in some proximity to that guy. He says, listen, if my bullets fit your gun, shoot it. And I love that concept because he's given you such a huge jump ahead of study that he's been doing. And that's what pastors do, is they look to others. They see that they're not, fully far off on the left side of whatever it is that they're trying to build. But don't ignore those small whispers for your own community. This is why I jumped on at 10:37 trying to figure this out. It really felt like this was going to be a moment, and here we are with dozens and dozens and dozens of leaders all engaging in this. So for the sake of the live stream, love you guys so much. I love Gilbert. Good to see you. Gil Acevedo, another crusher in ministry. Carolina, I'm glad you thought this was so good. You've been sending me some great content. I'm just trying to just match it right now, but also be incredibly transparent with my folks that I'm doing ministry with. Carolina, you're one of the best. Thanks for joining me. Anybody who's on this feed for testing out live stream, better quality kick-up. If you want information, just ask it in the live feed, and I'll jump on in the comment section, or somebody will jump on and tell you what we were doing. All the changes, yeah, we need some inspiration. Inspiration is great, but man, a good deep dive into Scripture is great. The reason why this keeps flipping back and forth, if you want to know, I was looking in some of the Facebook lets you see. It's telling me that I've got too high of a resolution that I'm trying to stream from. It's like, too good, your stuff is too good. So it keeps trying to pump me back to like my super basic laptop camera, but it's kind of a behind everything that we've got going on. Thank you guys so much. I absolutely love being in this conversation with everybody. I am in it with you. Our church is not a mega church. I mean, by the books, we're like 700 large. They say that's one of the bigger churches in America, but you and I both know that there are 1 million people ahead and 1 million people just a few steps behind. This is a collaborative conversation on how we're all going to operate with our means to the best of our abilities. That's what I'm trying to do here. That's what I'm trying to do for you. I love you guys, and before all the batteries die, I'm going to end this feed. If you liked the conversation, you can share it, or you can tag somebody in. Like Bravery says at his tender 8-year-old age, smash that like button. But even just saying it. I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.